Hi, it's Graham here from the Smart HS Tech team. We're out here today to check this side by side for a pre-start check, because before you go out you want to make sure nothing's wrong. You could prevent some maintenance issues if you could find that the oil was missing, or the radiator was low on water, or the tyres were out of pressure. But let's go through it. The acronym we use in industry is called TCLOC: tyres and wheels, chassis, lights and electrics, oil, fluid and fuel, and cables and controls, so your pedals and all of that sort of stuff. So let's start off with this front wheel here, and we'll do an example of how we check all four wheels, because we'll just do one but then we'll move on to other stuff, but you want to do all of them. So first of all, you're looking for any signs of poor tread. We've got plenty of tread here today, but if they're worn down you might want to replace the tyre. We're looking for cuts and damage on the side of the tyre. We're looking for dirt and sticks that are jammed into the rim here. So just recognising the general condition of the wheels and tyres, any rust on the rims and whatnot. Nuts, check your nuts that they're all tight as you go around all the wheels. Check your centre nuts and your pins are in properly on all your wheels. But one of the most important things is getting a good tyre gauge and checking your pressures. You've got to put it on there and make sure the pressures across the axle are even and across each axle is even. So this one might be 15 or 16 pounds, those might be 17, 18, who knows, but as long as they're the same across the axle, and then you've got good even tyre pressure. 1 or 2 pounds on these tyres can make all the difference, but check it out on your website or in your owner's manual, or ask your boss what tyre pressure he likes to run for the conditions you're running in, whether it's really muddy or dry or not. Wheels and tyres, very important to check over. Okay, as we go down the machine, we're checking the chassis for any rust and damage and cracks and damage, looking underneath the machine, right underneath for any sticks or baling twine and stuff jammed up in there, or great clumps of mud that would be better not to be adding to the weight of the machine. Another wheel to do, but as we come down here, we've got the fuel tank that we can make sure we've got fuel in, but usually there's a fuel gauge on these things. We're going to get straight into opening up the tray here, and usually the engine's under here, and just make sure you put the safety device on, whatever it is, to make sure that doesn't go collapse down onto you. If it's a hydraulic one, they sometimes have a hydraulic stay or some sort of thing to do, like on the Kuboters and that. Get rid of these bird's nests, which is right on top of the exhaust there. So that's living dodgy, that could be burning. Get rid of this living cow poop and stuff that's building up in here. And look for your oil filler caps and where they are. So sometimes you have to flip the seat forward in the front here to find where your oil level is. Pull it out, get a rag, give it a wipe, put it back in, dip it, bring it out again, check the level. Yep, all good, and away you go. Make sure it's dirt and that doesn't fall down when you're cleaning, when you're bringing those out. You've got an air filter here that you want to be checking. If it's really dusty conditions, you might be doing that once a week, but otherwise might be once a month, or service to service if you're in really low dusty conditions. But in behind the cows all the time, check that quite regularly. Okay, we've got a battery down here we can check, a few other things, making sure there's not too much build up in the chassis here. Coming back to the engine bay, making sure everything's looking all right. We've got a fuel, an oil little thingy here, and another one down there for the diff. So there's, looking for those yellows and black things that you can check. Everything in good condition here, no breaks in the chassis, looking good. So we can put that back down again, that safety device off, and bring it down, and we'll go around there and lock it into place. Make sure it's not going to fly up today. Okay, so having a look underneath the chassis at the back here, we're looking at to make sure the tow ball is the right size for our trailers, make sure that it's secure and there's no breaks or anything where it's joined on. Doing a lot of work with these, towing different things. We want to make sure we're using the right machine for the job. You don't want to be pulling 2 or 3 ton trailers with this. You'd be better with the tractor or the ute, but for what it's designed for, look for the manufacturer's specifications of what they can tow. They're printed on the machine, they're in the manual, the boss will tell you what it is. Could be written on the chassis here. Make sure you're only towing what it can tow. Having a bit of a shake here to make sure that nothing's coming loose up in those chassis there. This is a solid beam axle one, a little bit different. All good, look pretty solid. We've done another wheel and tyre as we come around here. We've checking the chassis through here, it's all good. And now we've gone from tyres and wheels, chassis, we're going to go to lights and electrics, oil and fuel. We did some oil and fuel back there, checking it was okay. So with the key we can turn it on and we can tell that we've got fuel in the fuel tank. Park brake light is on, part of the lights and electric stuff. Check our diff lock function, our two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive function, our gear levers here, our lights, whether they're working or not. Yep, we've got good lights out there with the key on now. Good lights down the back. Yep, that's great. So people can see us if we're on the road. There's foggy conditions. They're not going to ram up our backside as we cross across the runoff, so on and so forth. So that's really good. We've got a steering wheel adjuster here, and just familiarising ourselves, making sure everything's okay here. Choke, looking through here for the brake fluid level. Yep, looks good too. Pedals aren't cluttered and mucked up with mud too much. Awesome. Let's have a look at another thing just up here. Good idea to carry a fire extinguisher with you on these things. You've got a bit of room up here to do that. So have one of those on board somewhere, and all that luggage in there is secure. Nothing more to check in there. This machine is an air-cooled machine. Some of them have radiators to check, so you'd be going in and looking for the coolant levels and so on and so forth. Up the front here, we're just going to get down there and check the front suspension and the front steering system and whatnot. We've got outer CV boots and inner CV boots on each side. One, two there, two over here, exactly the same. Making sure they're not cut or damaged and they haven't got grease coming out of them. If the grease is coming out, it means the dirt and mud and stuff's going in, and you're going to have a major cost. Whereas just to put new ones of these on is very cheap and worthwhile doing. Bit of a shake, nothing coming loose there. The A-arm suspension's looking good. All these bolts just here are really nice and tight, and everything's looking nice and strong. No rust on the chassis, and no twine or dirt or stuff jammed up under there. Cool. So, get in your safety gear on. Always wear a helmet in these machines. Have a look at one of our videos on our training site, and when you get into side-by-sides, and you'll see a real good video of someone who didn't have a helmet on or had an accident, didn't have their seatbelts on, and the consequences are devastating. So you're getting in one, helmet on, and seatbelt on. Always do that. No excuses. You just don't know when it's going to go wrong. Hit a little rabbit hole, sinks into the ground, tyre goes flat or whatever, over she goes. You had it. Okay, moving the steering wheel, making sure there's no excess movement and it's reacting really quickly. Looking good. Okay, so tyres and wheels, chassis, L for lights and electrics, O for oil and fuel. Looking good up here. We checked our oil back there. And last one, cables and controls. So got good brake pressure. Yep. We can probably at this stage start it up and just see what we've got. In neutral, everything's fine. Handbrake's on. Just checking the throttle responds properly. It doesn't stick at any stages. So once it's warmed up a little bit, you can give it a squirt right down to the floor and back again just quickly to make sure it doesn't jam. Really good. Brake feels good. Handbrake's holding nicely, and holding the brake with your left foot and bringing it into gear, and just as checking it moves forward nicely, and brake's working good. Moving forward, park brake working good. Park brake on. Never drive with these park brakes on, and just about ready to go for the day. Back into neutral. All the controls are working nicely. Only takes 5 minutes to check, but you find a couple of things. If you do that every day, every time you're going to use it, you're going to save a lot of problems. So, go to our website, smarths.co.nz. Check out the other videos on tractors, motorbikes, quad bikes, and of course, side by side we did today. And have a great time, team. See you out there sometime. Cheers.